Hello everyone, it's me Vaharis, and in this video we're going to be doing an episode on analyzing the Atlantic and a quick look at Hurricane Hone that is currently impacting the Hawaii Islands. So let's get right into it. So starting off with radar imagery on Hurricane Hone, it's actually been strengthening a little faster than anticipated and is an 85-mile-per-hour hurricane as of the latest update. So it's actually not going to make landfall. Okay, it's going to continue jogging somewhere in this direction, but the center's relatively close, and it's close enough to be causing some direct impacts, especially on that main island, and even outside impacts on the smaller islands. So, and even some showers all the way over here in the northernmost islands. So, please be careful, bringing very heavy rain, windy conditions, and as you can see, flash flood warnings are up, and hurricane warnings and tropical storm warnings and watches are all up. So it is a valid tropical system that you have to watch out for. Moving past that, here is the National Hurricane Center on that. So Hone's right here. Again, going to continue moving west-northwest. Gilma is going to continue moving also kind of west-northwest. Thankfully, not going to be impacting Hawaii. And either way, even if it starts moving, if it does get anywhere close, it's going to get into some very unfavorable conditions with much cooler waters and drier air. But Gilma has done an unexpected thing where it strengthened back pretty rapidly into a major hurricane that has leveled off and is expected to weaken as it continues its trek. So, and then one more system behind it, we have our disturbance. Let's take a look over here. Disturbance 1, 90%, 48 hours, 90%, 7 days. So we're going to watch out for that. But thankfully, this doesn't look like to impact any Hawaii. Just taking a look at forecasting models, kind of going to follow Gilma and then likely going to go out to sea or something like that. But there's your Central and Eastern Pacific update. Now we're going to get into the Atlantic, okay? That's kind of the main story everyone's talking about. Where is our hurricane season? Where is our hyperactive, above average hurricane season? Now, hyperactive might be a stretch, but an above average season is still expected. Now, tropical cyclone activity is not expected in the next 7 days, actually. I'll show you why. I'll show you when that's going to change and how systems coming off the MDR will strengthen, where they'll go, etc. So, starting out with IR satellite loop. Now, we do have some waves. I mean, as you look over here, we do have a couple waves. We have one right here, a small one over here. We have a couple of little convective bursts over here, but we don't see anything notable. Now, we're gonna have our train of storms, something like that, or our MDR is right in here. Okay, right in here. So we're gonna have to watch anything that can make it past this MDR that gets into more favorable environments. So that's that. So let's talk about why. So first of all, dry air, okay? We have lots of dry air, especially kind of over here, and we only have some a very narrow strip of moist air right in here, okay? And even there's still some dry air trying to get going. And as you can see, it does get a little more favorable, but just going all the way through, you see dry air stays to the north, and you really have this right here, this little narrow area to watch out for any storms that if it might get past there, gets into more favorable and moist environments. So that's your moisture and why dry air is also affecting it, especially on the northern forming waves. Shear is also a problem. It's not as big of a problem, but it is still a problem. And as we continue this, you consistently have wind shear coming off southern Africa, or not southwestern Africa-ish, right here. If storms were to form very slow, much more south than usual. So I was just taking a look at shear, but it's not as bad, and it's not too much restriction. But as you see, as we continue, that shear kind of weakens up and it kind of lightens up a little bit, which is good for development. Now, the main thing that I would say is kind of disturbing any development is ocean heat content and cooler waters right in this area. Okay, right where I just circled and filled in with the blue, right there. Okay, that is where we're gonna have like very above this line is where we have much cooler waters and very unfavorable environments. Okay, and then south of that line, we get a little bit more favorable. But as you can see, I mean, once you get past the MDR, it just looks way better, honestly, for development. Now, Caribbean, I mean, each area does have their problems. Caribbean has lots of heat, but it does have shear. And then if you go up, it has not as much shear, but it has a little more cooler waters. But either way, I feel like the MDR is what's overall restricting tropical development. Like if I feel like if any storms can get out of that train and get into the Caribbean or north of the Puerto Rican islands or Virgin Islands or the Dominican Republic or Cuba, etc., I feel like storms could really start developing. So yeah, that's your little forecast. And then the main thing we're talking about that I haven't seen lots of people talking about, but something's really interesting is the MJO. Right now we're in a very unfavorable phase. As you take a look, this is our analysis. These drier, warmer looking colors are sinking air. These greener, wetter looking colors, cooler colors is rising air, which is what you need for tropical systems. Right now, our MDR is in that sinking air, very very unfavorable. Okay, and that continues kind of throughout beginning of the September into early to mid September. Now, once we get into mid to late September, you see that sinking air gets replaced with lots of rising air, and that rising air is really going to promote tropical activity getting into October. So I feel like right now, yeah, we might be a little slow, but once we really start to get into late, especially late September and early October, it's really, really going to ramp up. And that goes for the same with the Pacific. Pacific is going to stay active, but once we get into October, Atlantic will become active and the Pacific will become less active. And that's really, really typical of our La Nina phase, and that's just showing our La Nina is really settling in. So there's your little 40-day forecast, and it does go out far, but that's for good reason, okay? This is the main graph I would look at for any activity that's really trying to get going in our MDR. So quiet for now, but that's really going to change as we get deeper in the fall and get near peak season, which is around 20th September. And honestly, I mean, look at this. This is right here, 23rd September. That's where our graph is the most aggressive for the MDR, and that's when we really start to get towards peak season. Okay, so I feel like mark 20th September on your calendars. That's where it's going to get really active. I'm calling it right now. You can recall me once again, but I do think it'll become really active near or at that time frame. So there's your MDR, there's your MJO phase. So once it gets into the more favorable phases, that's when tropical activity will really arise for the Atlantic, and will start to level off for the Pacific. So I hope you enjoyed, and we'll have another update and more forecasts to come. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a great rest of your day.